Think smart to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom. Informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI. Food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
A warm good afternoon to you and welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. This is our program here, number 1145, and it's Thursday, March the 14th, 2024. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. And in addition to Radio 100, 101.1 FM radio, you can also get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com. We're also streaming live on the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And of course, that is available for everybody who wants to check it out. So you please like and share that as well with your friends and family. And you can also go into our website, rcistlucia.com, rcistlucia.com. And you can stream all our previous shows on that platform as well. Now, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number again is 452-3046, 452-3046, and you also have that option of messaging in or calling in to WhatsApp. The number is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Now, some birthday greetings for today. First going out to Dr. Amy Flores Wazo. And we're wishing you a wonderful birthday, Amy, and we hope that you're having a fantastic day. Hope it's a great one. Also sending birthday greetings out to Sir Julian Hunt. Happy birthday to you, sir. And we wish you an absolutely fantastic day as you mark your 84th birthday. And as well, birthday greetings going out to Miss Grace Millen. Happy birthday to you, Grace. And we do hope that you're having a splendid birthday celebration. And for all those who are celebrating their birthdays today, happy birthday to you. And of course, you're in good company. Albert Einstein was born on this day, as well as Golden State Warrior NBA player Steve Curry. He turns 36 today. And Olympic medalist Simone Biles. She is 27 today as well. A bit of history for today. In the year 1794, on this day, Eli Whitney patented the cotton gin machine, which revolutionized the cotton industry in the southern United States. In the year 1900, Dutch botanist Hugo de Vries discovered Gregor Mendel's laws of hereditary and genetics. 1900 on this day saw the United States currency going on the gold standard after Congress passed the Currency Act. 1913 on this day, the Supreme Court in South Africa in 1913 declared that marriages not celebrated according to Christian rites and or not registered by the Registrar of Marriages were invalid. And that made all Muslim and Hindu marriages declared invalid in South Africa at that time. And in 2013, Xi Jinping was named the new president of the People's Republic of China. And on this day in 2017, the world's oldest golf club, Muirfield in Scotland, voted to admit women as members for the first time in 273 years. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One test for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need test for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big test with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Did all kind of tests. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also glass, gasway, and vanity. Box, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Now that bit of history there coming out of Scotland in the year 2017, the matter of the world's oldest golf club finally admitting women, or finally voting to admit women, of course, is a very peculiar one. And it certainly does, of course, coming after the after a marking of International Women's Day, is a reminder that sometimes we still very much have what are termed the boys' clubs out there, and it is and has been is a reality, in fact, in some places around the world. And so we sometimes take these, I guess you could say, rights for granted sometimes, or in terms of gender equality. But it is, in fact, not always so for a number of people out there. And even in countries that are considered to be democratic, countries that are that find themselves having long histories of democracy, and put themselves up as bastions of equality, still have a number of institutions where there are limits or there are restrictions regarding the matter of women and women becoming or getting membership into certain institutions. And in fact, in the case of these boys' clubs, especially these golf and country clubs, a number of them have, even in the United States of America, they still maintain this male-only approach. Sometimes they may allow women to come in on a certain day in the week or on a Sunday. Wives may be allowed to come in, that sort of thing. But we certainly do still have to look at some of these issues, because the reality is, and in these settings, quite often, these were where on the golf club, on the golf course, in the golf club or in the country club, deals are made, decisions are made, and this is quite often a way of keeping the women out of these types of settings. So we certainly do need to recognize the importance of equality, of gender equality, and the direction that we have to continue. Maybe in the case of St. Lucia, we certainly have seen great successes in women being able to get into and to in fact become leaders in certain fields. Of course, we heard we were maybe the third highest rate of women chief executives in the world. And so you look at a number of institutions around the both private and in the public sector, and you'll see a number of women, in fact, women sometimes even dominating these in the public sector, for instance, at the very high levels. But the challenge that we still have, though, and some people may say it's not really a challenge, it's only a matter of time, to see more women getting involved in elective politics. Thus far, of course, we can see that we're punching fairly low when it comes to our House of Assembly and the number of women who, in fact, put themselves up for elective politics. I think I had a statistic which was something to the effect that I think 34 women thus far, since I believe independence, or maybe even before that, during our political history, have put themselves up for elections. And in fact, the majority of them, almost 30 of them, have in fact been since 1997, I believe. So there has been a rise, an increase in the number of women who have in fact be getting involved in elected politics. But of course, still a ways to go in that regard. One matter coming out just a while ago, just about 40 minutes ago, which has been of interest to a number of people, and that is the matter of Vybz Kartel. And he was convicted of murder, and there has in fact been a decision that murder conviction has in fact been quashed, meaning that the Jamaica Court of Appeal will have to decide on a possible retrial in that matter. And the story coming out of Loop St. Lucia reads as follows. 10 years after being convicted of murder, dancehall artist Vybz Kartel and his co-convicts have won their appeal against the conviction and sentence. The grounds on which they have been overturned were due to jury misconduct. The Judicial Committee of the UK Privy Council ruled on Thursday in a highly anticipated judgment. The case will be remitted to the Jamaican Court of Appeal to decide on whether there will be a retrial in the matter. Kartel, whose real name is Adidja Palmer, was convicted on March the 13th, 2014, along with fellow appellants Sean Campbell, Kahira Jones, and Andre St. John of the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The Jamaican Court of Appeal dismissed their appeal against the convictions, and their cases were in the hands of the Privy Council. Lord Reed, Lord Lloyd Jones, Lord Briggs, Lord Burrows, and Lady Simler heard their appeal during a 2-day hearing in the United Kingdom in February. They decided that it was unsafe to allow the tainted juror to remain on the jury, which decided the men's fate. The juror was later convicted of attempting to bribe a fellow juror. And of course, that story is of great interest to some who are fans of Vybz Kartel. Of course, a very, very popular Jamaican dancehall artist. In fact, winning his, well, not winning, but effectively having a victory here in that his murder conviction has now been quashed due to one may say, the contamination of the jury pool, and of course attempts here, as we heard, of bribery, one juror trying to bribe the other, and of course effectively contaminating the process of justice. It may very well mean that, as has been pointed out, the Court of Appeal in Jamaica will have to decide whether a new trial will have to be held, and whether that may, of course, that would mean that you would have to have a brand new jury being brought in to hear the matter once again, to submit the evidence once again. So, I mean, this is, of course, the importance of the system of justice and ensuring that people have the right to a fair trial, and ensuring that, of course, the individuals who are making that determination of whether, in fact, somebody is guilty or not guilty of a charge, that they are, in fact, doing so freely and fairly and unencumbered in any form of persuasion. And so these are very serious matters, and so certainly we'll have to see how this pans out, whether it will mean freedom for these individuals at this point, or whether it is now going to be heading to a retrial. So very interesting steps being taken here, and of course this matter being determined by the Privy Council, the Judicial Committee of the Privy Council. And now also in the news, we just wanted to touch on the matter of the potential change in water rates. And the United Workers' Party has added their voice to the mix, so to speak. And they're saying, there's an article reading, raising water rates would be a slap in the face to St. Lucians, according to the United Workers' Party. And the story reads as follows. The opposition United Workers' Party has reacted to Infrastructure Minister Stephenson King's recent statements on a potential increase in water rates. King suggested that water rates may need to be revised so as to invest in much-needed infrastructure repairs and development, noting that poor infrastructure has resulted in non-revenue water that is produced but for which no revenue is collected, being at 55%. According to a UWP release, quote, in a move that has left many St. Lucians angry and frustrated, Minister Stephenson King has floated the idea of increasing water prices amidst growing concerns over the sustainability of the island's water supply. This suggestion, coming from a government that has already burdened its citizens with rising costs across various essentials, is not just ill-advised but downright absurd. At the heart of the matter lies the inefficiency plaguing the water and sewage company. It's no secret that Wasco struggles with massive losses, reportedly hemorrhaging around 50 cents on every dollar spent due to leakages and broken pipes. This glaring issue has been allowed to persist under the watch of Minister King's government, raising questions about their ability to address fundamental infrastructural challenges. Instead of tackling the root cause of Wasco's financial woes, Minister King's knee-jerk reaction is to suggest burdening the already stretched finances of St. Lucian households with increased water prices. This move is not only tone-deaf but also highlights a disconnect between the government and the plight of its citizens. Furthermore, it's essential to contextualize Minister King's proposal within the broad economic landscape of St. Lucia. Under his government's tenure, St. Lucians have faced a barrage of price hikes from fuel and cooking gas to bread, electricity, and bus fares. These increases have placed a heavy strain on household budgets, with many struggling to make ends meet in the face of mounting living costs. Adding insults to injury are the 2.5% tax lies that were told to St. Lucians under the guise of fiscal responsibility. Promised as a temporary measure to alleviate economic pressures, this tax has remained stubbornly in place, further exacerbating the financial burden on ordinary citizens. In light of these realities, Minister King's suggestion of raising water prices comes across as nothing short of a slap in the face to St. Lucians already grappling with the economic fallout of government policies. It reflects a stunning lack of empathy and understanding of the everyday challenges faced by the people he is meant to serve. Rather than resorting to quick fix solutions that disproportionately impact the most vulnerable in society, Minister King and his government should focus their efforts on addressing the systemic issues plaguing Wasco and implementing measures to improve water infrastructure and efficiency. This includes investing in technologies to detect and repair leaks promptly, as well as prioritizing maintenance and upgrades to aging water infrastructure. And that piece coming from the United Workers' Party, a story out of Loop, St. Lucia, I suppose, covering a press release or press statement made by the United Workers' Party on the matter of the water and sewage company and the potential of an increase in water rates. Now, of course, this matter has raised lots of interest, of course, because water is life, as we are reminded by the motto of the very same company. And it is certainly an essential good which we all require, whether it in fact is coming from the pipes through potable water, or whether we need it, whether it's just simply coming from the sky and it's watering our our plants and our fields and supporting agriculture. It certainly is a major concern. And of course, we have seen how countries can, face significant issues, whether it's through drought. Many African countries over the years have befallen significant issues of drought, but it's also impacting even places like the United States of America, and we're seeing issues of drought impacting places like Europe at this point. It is that impact of climate change, the impact of greenhouse gases, the warming of the earth due to human activity, leading to generally warmer temperatures around the world, that having certainly an impact of the atmosphere being able to hold more water, also changing the patterns of weather, and leading in very many instances to significant drought. There have been suggestions that we may very well become victims as we see a reducing of the average annual rainfall that we in fact are receiving. And there are real implications with respect to that. It may very well come to a point where we will in fact be facing the possibilities of long dry spells or longer dry spells, and the implications to this are quite real. Of course, the entity that is responsible for this is 100% owned by the state. That, of course, is the water and sewage company WASCO. That said, though, it still falls within a regulated industry, and that is, as per the legislation, that there is in fact a separate body responsible for determining the rates. Now, some of the things that were said in that piece are not exactly correct. I mean, there's a statement that said it's no secret that WASCO struggles with massive losses, reportedly hemorrhaging around 50 cents on every dollar spent due to leakages and broken pipes. Now, non-revenue water does not necessarily automatically translate to hemorrhaging of 50 cents of every dollar spent. What you do get is that what it means that you are spending money in the process of treatment and in the process of pumping or distribution of water, and some of that water is in fact not being billed by the end user because it is effectively lost in the system, in the distribution system. Right? These are system losses. Now, the reality is that you're going to have losses on any line, on any system. And this is not just a phenomenon for water, it is a phenomenon for electricity. Right? In the case of electricity, you have issues of resistance, so you have what we known as I²R losses on the lines, and so this is why even on very long lines, although in most instances you're using alternating current on lines on very, very long distances, in some countries they've shifted towards using what is known as high voltage direct current lines, which in fact have less loss on the line over very, very, very long distances. We don't have that requirement here because we're speaking about a very small country. But so there are issues of losses regardless in any system. The issue, though, is what should be that optimum level to be able to ensure that you're not losing far too much. Now, of course, the issue of non-revenue water is something that all utilities will have to deal with. And effectively, it's just saying that, well, okay, if we are producing 10 million gallons of water per day, and we're sending that out on the line, at the end of that day, we're actually only billing on average maybe 5 million gallons to the customer, or 6 million gallons. Now, of course, you want to be able to, in an ideal situation, bring that gap down to as small as possible. But it does not necessarily immediately suggest that you're losing 50 cents on every dollar spent. So I'm not too sure where that exact bit of information came in. But the issue, of course, of addressing the matter of system inefficiency effectively requires that you deal with the issue of the infrastructure. You're right. So in the case of Wasco, of course, there are 2 points where you're going to be getting losses. You're getting losses of raw water, right? So you're getting losses coming from the intakes, or coming from the reservoir. In the case of the John Compton Dam, for instance, that's all the way up in Roseau. And we've seen a lot of the work that Wasco has been doing has in fact been on the raw water line. So this is untreated water, all right, and that's being pumped to the treatment plant at Cicero. Those losses, one could say to some degree, are not as costly per unit as compared to losses on the treated water line, because when you're treating water, of course, there's a cost that you're conditioning the water to make it suitable for consumption, and so therefore there are inputs that are going into that tend to be costly. You're using electricity, you're using chlorine, you're using a lot of other things. You're testing it to make sure that it is suitable. So those input costs certainly will then potentially mean that you are spending money, but you certainly want to be able to recoup as much of that as possible. So and then of course you have the cost of the pumping, which is something that is another major aspect of Wasco's bill, so to speak, in terms of costs of operations, the matter of energy, right? And so the question is, how does it offset its energy costs, which is significant because, again, in the way we have developed over the years, we have seen that more and more people are heading up into higher elevations. They're going further away from those sources, and so it means that you've got to spend a lot more money. So it's one thing for Wasco to be able to get water to Castries, right? It's a whole other process for it to be able to get water to Cap Estate or to Beauséjour or to even higher elevations such as Vésicuit and Dirameau even, and other parts. So those are where some of the challenges certainly lie with our operations here. And of course, we just thus far have been speaking primarily about the north of the island, and that is because largely a lot of the other systems are legacy systems. They are gravity-fed systems. The overall capacities are smaller. The utilization is less. And so really the north of the island is where you've got the greatest amount of consumption, and also quite likely the greatest amount of input costs that it has to deal with. I'm raising this because, of course, as well, the entire matter as to how fair it is for an individual who is living in Soufrière or an individual living in Micoud or Vieux-Fort to, in fact, have to be paying for what has been termed a dredging fee, or has to be paying for a very high unit cost, comparatively speaking, which may be existing in the northern system as compared to the southern, more gravity-fed southern system. So as to whether we in fact need a differentiated rate or differentiated tariff, maybe a northern tariff and a southern tariff, I don't know, is all sorts of things that perhaps the National Utility Regulatory Commission and Wasco itself certainly do need to explore in the context of ensuring that the people who in fact are paying, are using, and in fact are causing for the price to be relatively high, they should in fact potentially be paying a little bit more. So those are some of the, in my view, are some of the things that should certainly be considered. However, the reality of all of that is that there is certainly going to be a requirement to the provision of water, which requires investment. And the question is, where is that investment money going to be coming from? There have been a lot of different proposals over the years. What has happened before is that largely government has had to bankroll much of that investment. So investments like the John Compton Dam, or investments in pipelines, or in the case of just recently the Dennery water system, the government had to come in with the assistance of the Mexicans providing grants for that purpose. We've seen EU funds in some areas providing upgrades to water systems. We've seen the government having to go to the Caribbean Development Bank to borrow funds for the purpose of upgrading the VA4 water supply. So invariably, yes, government has a role to play. The question is, at what point then is it going to be just a continuous government subsidy to that sector by way of grants and providing free money, so to speak, to WASCO, or whether in fact there has to be some sharing regarding the direct input of water rates. Now, what would be very interesting would be to see an analysis done as to if in fact the state did not come in, or the state was not able to get monies from benevolent governments and other players to be able to invest in the water supply, what would really that water rate would have to be to be able to offset that development cost. And then, of course, there has been in the past attempts at even looking at private sector involvement in water. Some have suggested that has not gone on very well in some countries, and it has led to issues and problems where you've had privatization of water utilities. Others will say that it's a necessary step. That, of course, went through a very long political back and forth, and it never saw the light of day. Still has not happened in the case of St. Lucia. But is there a role for other entities, maybe even within the state, to allow for residents of St. Lucia, to allow St. Lucian entities, businesses, to be able to actually invest in the water and sewage company? And so that is a major question. Should NIC be investing in the water and sewage company and other players and actors who have that capacity? So it is certainly a lot to be looking at, but merely playing a political back and forth on it is not going to get us anywhere really at this time. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we're going to take in our weather report, and then we'll head to the phone lines.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gas and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Brazil, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island Stars annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus get chip edge styles for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet, tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Cash Street, Rodney Bay, or Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
That's all, of course, to the 1.1. It's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from the east near 18 miles per hour or 30 kilometers per hour. The weather fair to partly cloudy skies. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles over the Leeward Islands and Northern Windward Islands. Partly cloudy to cloudy skies with scattered showers. Elsewhere, fair to partly cloudy skies with a brief isolated showers. And the weather summary: weak unstable conditions associated with a shear line will cause occasional cloudy periods with widely scattered showers over the northern Lesser Antilles during the next 24 hours. Elsewhere, relatively dry and stable atmosphere will influence mostly fair weather conditions during the forecast period. And this was a weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Tile and Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island Style's annual Easter clearance sale is here, and boy, do we have some exciting deals for you. Massive savings on tires to be had with discounts of up to 30% off store-wide. Buy all we have in the low stock model and watch your discounts skyrocket with a huge 50% off. Plus get chip edge tile for as low as $1. Yes, we're clearing out our old stock to bring in the new. And that's not all. The Easter Bunny has added extra savings on toilet, tubs, bathroom vanities, tile tools, and so much more. It won't get any better than this. Jump on these excellent deals and visit our Island Style showroom in Cash Street, Rodney Bay, or Viewfort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. That's 8453. Sale ends holiday Saturday. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. We're about 20 minutes out before the hour of 2 o'clock. And of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. You can also message in on our WhatsApp. That number is 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. Now, of course, good afternoon to all those following as well on our Facebook Live. And we do hope that you're good and having a very blessed day as well. You can, of course, send in your questions and comments there as well. Now, very recently, in fact, just last week, we got from the International Monetary Fund a statement, and these are known as Article 4 consultations, and these are after usually annual reviews that the International Monetary Fund conducts in countries around the world, and that will usually mean engaging with various stakeholders, primarily, however, of course, the government and the Ministry of Finance, agencies dealing with economic development, looking at economic performance and generally giving advice, giving some level of assessment of government policies, and providing some of their own prescriptions, of course, in the mix as to where they believe the state should place emphasis. So this IMF Article 4 consultation release came out on March the 7th, and so we're going to share it as much as we can with the listening public. On August the 25th, 2023, the Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund, IMF, concluded the 2023 Article 4 consultation with St. Lucia and considered and endorsed the staff appraisal without a meeting on a lapse of time basis. St. Lucia's tourist-dependent economy has rebounded strongly after the COVID-19 pandemic and the commodity import price shock due to Russia's war in Ukraine. Output is currently near the pre-pandemic level, while higher government revenue has narrowed the fiscal deficit. Similarly, with the recovery of tourism, the current account deficit declined from the pandemic peak of 16% of GDP in 2020 to an estimated 2% of GDP in 2022. Though declining, the public debt remains much higher than before the pandemic. The banking sector has adequate liquidity and is profitable, but NPLs, or non-performing loans, are elevated. The GDP growth projection in 2023 at 3.2% is lower than 2022 as tourism demand continues the recovery and the economy approaches the existing production capacity. Afterwards, it is projected to gradually decline towards a potential rate of 1.5% in the medium term. Annual inflation is projected to remain high in 2023 at 4.3% and then to decline to around 2% in the medium term. The current account deficit is expected at 0.8% of GDP in 2023 and is projected to close over the medium term, driven by the continued recovery in tourism. On current policies, public debt is projected to stabilize around 75% of GDP in the medium term, significantly above the regional ceiling of 60% of GDP by 2035. Bank credit to the private sector is projected to remain anemic in the absence of improved loan loss provisioning, fiscal adjustment, and additional legislative reform. Natural disasters are a recurrent threat. Risks to the outlook are tilted to the downside and includes global economic slowdown, commodity price volatility, and additional global financial tightening. The Executive Board assessment. The St. Lucia economy rebounded strongly in 2022 after the collapse in tourism during the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, leading to large improvements in the fiscal and external deficits. GDP grew by an estimated 15.7% in 2022. Inflation was high at 6.5% with strong impulse from international prices. With the recovery of tourism, the current account deficit narrowed from a peak of 15.2% of GDP in 2020 to 2.3% of GDP in 2022, while the estimated fiscal balance improved in financial year 2022 by 4.1% to a deficit of 1.5% of GDP due to strong tax revenue collection and CIP revenue, citizenship by investment revenue. However, the large fiscal deficits during the pandemic and the growth collapse in 2020 led to a significant increase in public debt, which now stands at nearly 75% of GDP. The financial system has remained stable and liquid with a sustained increase in deposits, but the loan portfolio performance has worsened. The rapid credit growth in the credit unions raises credit risk concern, especially given relatively weaker credit standards in the sector, generally higher NPLs or non-performing loans, and low capital buffers in some institutions. Growth is projected to slow in the medium term as the economy completes the recovery, but the fiscal outlook poses challenges. The government's plan encompasses investments in the transport, health, and social sectors, is ambitious and consistent with the needs to address bottlenecks to growth. However, on current policies, public debt is projected to stabilize around 75% of GDP in the medium term, above the regional ceiling of 60% of GDP by 2035. The short maturity profile of domestic or regional debt keeps financing needs elevated, implying refinancing risk. The government plans to increase revenue are insufficient to reach the regional debt ceiling. Constraints to bank credit, including the need to increase provisioning and legal disincentives affecting the ability to seize collateral, remain obstacles to domestic investment, employment, and growth. The government's plan could be strengthened with policies that focus on fiscal sustainability and resource allocation efficiency. With output approaching its pre-pandemic level, the government should target a fiscal consolidation of at least 2.5% of GDP to reach the regional debt ceiling, and rely on strengthening of tax compliance, streamlining of tax exemptions, adopting a fuel pass-through framework, and the more efficient value-added tax. A further 1% of GDP of fiscal consolidation could be used to increase public investment resilient to natural disasters. Public debt sustainability could be supported by a well-designed fiscal rule of self-financing of the initiatives to strengthen the social safety net and more capacity to access climate finance. To address fiscal risks, CIP revenue could be saved in a fund for self-insurance against natural disasters, debt service, and public investment. The draft reforms put forward by the pension fund should be implemented to increase its longevity, and its investment portfolio should be more internationally diversified to boost its resilience to shocks. The priority in the financial sector is to strengthen buffers to increase resilience to shocks while enhancing incentives for private lending. Banks should improve the classification of NPLs in the post-moratorium and restructured portfolios, raise provisions to the regulatory minimum, and strengthen management of foreign investments. The government should use its representation power at the ECCB to strengthen the enforcement of provisioning requirements and speed up the disposals of non-performing loans. The modernization of foreclosure legislation for commercial loans and residential property and passing of the bankruptcy and insolvency law would expand credit access and lower loan interest rates. Ensuring effective implementation of the international AML-CFT standards would help protect correspondent banking relationships and mitigate risks related to cross-border financial flows. In the credit union sector, the passing of the draft bill with stronger regulatory standards will improve compliance with provisioning and capital requirements. High unemployment, particularly among the youth, requires targeted policies to address deep-rooted social problems and a review of education systems. And we're almost done, by the way. While improving conditions for private investment will increase labor demand, it may prove insufficient to achieve full employment. High unemployment affects different segments of the population, facing distinct challenges to employment, especially female workers and youth. This suggests the need to review education programs to strengthen employability, increase enrollment in technical and vocational education, and training to address skills mismatches, reduce of transport cost, and review the allocation of government scholarships to skills in high demand in consultation with employers. Labor participation of females and youth could be addressed by expanding the capacity of child and elderly care. The recently created Youth Economy Agency to support youth employment and business development and entrepreneurship with training and guidance could be complemented with social programs that tackle non-economic barriers to employment. And that was, as I mentioned, the recently published release from the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, after their 2023 article consultation with authorities in St. Lucia. Let's try to take in some calls at this time with a few moments that we have left. And we go to the phone lines. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
How are you doing, Mr. George?
Very good caller. How are you doing?
Okay. You all right, family, everybody?
Yes, everybody is good. Thank you for asking.
Okay. So, what's it with the telecommunications provider?
With Flow?
Yeah. Apart from the increases, is there anything now, a merger or some kind of thing?
A merger?
Between them and Digicel, nothing like that?
Oh, I'm not aware of a merger, no.
Okay.
Is that something that you've seen in
No,
I
haven't seen it. I've just heard people talk about it.
Well, I mean, we know that Digicel has had some restructuring. Of course, they had a significant change of ownership. The gentleman who was at the helm, who was the founder, Mr. Dennis O'Brien, is no longer the lead figure there, no longer the chairman of that. I know they've had significant debt issues. They've had to look at even restructuring some of their debt, I believe. But I have not heard of a merger.
Can you speak to the issues of price comparison in both of them? You have any information on that?
I do not have any empirical data on their prices and comparison of their prices. Do you think that one is more expensive than the other, or is there any? I'm not sure.
No, I'm not really. That's why I'm asking you.
No. I wouldn't want to venture. I wouldn't want to venture to say that I have any analysis.
That's why I maybe I need that information before I make the point I was going to make, because I would think that Flow actually is the inheritor of the cable and wireless infrastructure, no?
Yes, I mean Flow is cable and wireless.
So they are the main operator, big, yeah? And Digicel coming after, which means that there are a lot of things, interconnection and all sort of things they have to deal with. They have to
certainly deal with interconnection. They have tried to create their own networks as well, but of course that comes at a cost.
Yeah.
So yes, there is one can say there is an inherent advantage that the legacy operator would have.
Well, this is where I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know if they did that, but that would put them in a position to engage in predatory pricing. Eh?
Well, I don't want to say that let's say that they have an advantage.
That's why I'm telling you. Yeah, that would be them in that position. That's why I'm careful not to say they have engaged in it.
Right.
That's why I asked you of the price structures. But that would put them in that situation, though, because, and for the benefit of your listeners, predatory prices is that when you have a competition and you price your things way below and you sustain
The actual
even,
cost, and because you know that you
even
can,
less profits,
yeah,
because I wouldn't say losses, but less profits, just to get your competitors out of business.
right.
Because oil's fair in competition.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you have the regulator, to see to it that this sort of thing is not taking place. Because, like you say, the advantage operator, which is flow, is always in a better position to engage in that practice. Eh?
Yes,
No?
yes, one would think so.
Right.
And of course, if you have an existing market share, you have effectively anybody coming in is really taking a portion of that market share.
Exactly.
And
So,
I don't really know what the split is either in terms of those two companies.
It's like you're running a little shop and thing. You won't expect somebody having a little shop buying from Julian's to
have better prices.
There you go. That would be astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
Julian could always, has the advantage to see how much he's selling that. We could put down that 50 cents. We could sell it for 45. You know what I mean?
Well, except that, and this is where the competition is important. If in fact, say, the main supermarket, or let's say the Julien's, as you mentioned, in fact has a very high profit margin. Let's say they're making, 50 cents. And this other entity comes in and says, well, you know what? I can come in and I don't need to necessarily make that 50 cents. I can actually make 30 cents. Right? Profit. And they're comfortable with that 30-cent profit, a lower margin of profit. Then, in fact, that would then generally drive down all the price of the main player. So that's where you have the benefit of competition.
Yeah, but it's never going to be on fair ground. The ground is never going to be fair thing. The important factor here is that the one with all the infrastructure, with calling all the shots, they are the ones who in a better position to use predatory pricing to drive you out of the market.
Well, but there's that issue. But then what we've also seen over the past couple of decades is that there's been also a shift in terms of a lot of the legacy infrastructure. One can say is almost, in some instances, even being phased out. So you do have
the new infrastructures, yeah.
So you have had both entities
more with,
a lot more data based, IP based, right? So you're talking about
instead of landline and
so you're not using your coax, right?
And whatever.
So
more with satellite. And
so both players have to then invest to be able to keep up. So in some sense. Yes, there's still an inherent advantage, no doubt about it, from the legacy operator. But sometimes, if it means that the new entrant coming in is leapfrogging into investing in a new technology that gives it perhaps an advantage, then it can, possibly recoup. Or it would then maybe be able to encourage a greater customer base and then possibly recoup as well. So there may very well be some advantages as well afforded to a player coming in and starting from scratch. So,
no, but I mean, well, naturally, when pricing, that's why you see regulating tariffs so important. When pricing is efficient cost of in using the current technology, you cannot come using archaic, antiquated technology and negotiate for tariff increases.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes. Well,
yeah.
In fact, that was exactly what we were a victim of for a very long time.
Exactly.
Like the whole trunk call.
So this thing
issue
is so important, and I find, Calix, we take these matters so lightly. That even to me, the government not really looking at these issues and flagging them issues more seriously They just have these boards in place, these committees, they call regulators, and I don't know. You know, their handiwork. Make us feel their handiwork. That is what all I'm saying.
Right. You want to know that somebody is watching.
Come along.
Yeah.
They're ready to explain the issues to people, to say why or why not, why they feel Flo should get it or Flo should. It's not just a matter of whatever they did. I didn't say they didn't do nothing, but whatever they did, they just crown it with an announcement, a statement that they're going to be, increases. I mean, really, where is, the detail? The devil is in the detail.
Always.
Eh?
I said always so, indeed. You're very correct, caller.
Boy,
and
Calix George Sr. must be cringing when he's seeing these things going on. I don't think he intended that this is how this thing should end up.
No. I think there's definitely a need for.
I think he expecting his son to continue the struggle. You're laughing. Yeah, in that regard.
Okay,
because
all right.
he's fully energized, he understands the issues. I would hope, because there's no shortage of knowledge or experience of it right there at home.
Very well, caller. Well, I'll have to look a little bit more into this matter of, as you rightly have pointed out.
I still find we're taking it lightly, and people will rant and rave and thing, but the phone, the indelible thing, man, the imperative thing, man, having the technology, that piece of handset.
But are we ranting and raving? I don't know. That's a very interesting comment that you made, though, because I still don't feel that in terms of the public concern, I'm not sure that we're really hearing it very much. I mean, I know we have a National Consumers Association.
We have to. I mean, regulators not just there to deal with people complaints and this kind of thing,
Yes, you're right. The regulator has a role.
Look inside of the structures, the way these things operate.
In fact, the regulator,
they have to be on the ball, proactive, especially in a jurisdiction that you hardly could say this thing is competitive, because we move from a monopoly essentially to a duopoly. You know what I mean? A monopoly by one to a monopoly by two. That's what we have done. So they have nothing like market liberalization. They don't have that there. Maybe they have a little features like value added and so on and so forth that the whole liberalization bring about. But essentially, in terms of competition, nah.
But it comes back to that.
The dominant operator could always manipulate the scene. And it's nothing strange. That's why I tell you, if these people end up buying out Flo, Digicel or whatever, or Digicel just throwing in the towel, because they'll grind them to the ground if the regulator don't intervene,
right,
in the interest of other players.
Well,
okay,
thanks very much, caller, for that. And of course, in such instances too, regulators sometimes have to, and I don't know that we have that type of legislation, but anti-monopoly legislation to prevent monopolistic situations from occurring. So I know some jurisdictions have these fair trade commissions, and that is also part of the approach, that you don't want to end up in where you have only one player, and so they sometimes, in fact, prevent certain mergers and acquisitions from actually occurring. But very interesting space to continue to be looking at, and we do hope that we can continue to provide some insight on very many of these matters. That's all the time we have here today at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. We'll be back again, God willing, for another program tomorrow, Friday. Hope you can join us for that. I'm your host, Calix George Jr., saying goodbye.